Hello, everyone joining us. We're going to be starting at 1:05, so in about 4 minutes from now. We're just going to let everyone kind of join and organize themselves. Looks like Bob's joined us.
I guess.
Hey, Bob, we'll just we're going to give it another 3 minutes just for some people to join, and then we'll kind of get going.
Sounds good. How's the weather up there today?
Not too bad. It's raining a little bit, but it's getting nicer. It's pretty hot this past weekend. So,
Nice.
what about you?
Yeah, it's hot. It's in the 90s, sunny, just hot.
Just give it 2 more minutes here. See if we've got any more attendees that are going to be coming. Of course, also we're going to be sending out a recording of this to everyone, just anyone who's registered. So,
Okay.
one more minute. Okay, I think we are ready to go. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, taking some time out of their Tuesday afternoons or morning, depending on where you are. Today we're going to be going through a few different topics. So first, we're going to start with an introduction about who is MeazureUp, and then from there we're going to go into the state of the restaurant industry, give you guys some insights that we've picked up. And then we're going to enter into the conversation with our panelists and with some of the customers that we've brought on, what the quote unquote new normal looks like. I'm sure a term everyone's heard here quite a bit lately, for both the Basil Box and Otto's Pizza, the two brands that are represented here today by Bob and Kyra. And then also we're going to be speaking about how they're going to ensure safety in an efficient manner going forward. From there, we're going to be talking about leveraging technology what problems they're solving using technology. We're going to speak a little bit about our Daily Checks platform, which is something that both Kyra and Bob are using in their stores. And then we're going to open the floor to some Q&A questions for anyone, if they want to ask us questions for Jason and I, or for Kyra, Bob. And of course, we're going to be sprinkling in some questions for you guys to answer so that we can get some consensus on what you're seeing in the industry. But first, who is MeazureUp? To put it simply, we're a cloud-based software company, and we work mainly with restaurant chains. We actually work with also retail, convenience stores, grocery stores, ensuring operational consistency by digitizing any type of checklist. So if it's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, you name it, we've seen it. We're working with about 125 brands all across the world right now. Our largest probably is a chain based in South Africa, Spur Restaurant Group. It's about 650 locations, all the way down to, we work with some that are 3 locations here in North America, down in Texas and to the most northern parts of Canada. And these are all different types of restaurants, whether they're QSRs, fast casuals, full service, any different type of restaurant, we've kind of seen it. So to introduce the hosts, we have Jason, who's the other friendly face that you can see on here. He's a junior associate here at MeazureUp, and he helps us out with all the marketing. And then myself, Ray Abramson, COO of MeazureUp, and we'll kind of be leading you here today. I'm going to pass it off to Jason to tell you a little bit about the state of the industry.
Thank you so much, Ray. So I thought we'd start broad before we narrow it down to a couple specific brands and how they're handling everything. So in general, why are we here? Of course, COVID-19 would be a little bit of a broad reason, but we're here specifically because the world's starting to move past COVID. We're starting to see dining rooms open up. As you can see by the figure to the right of the screen, the US map that actually shows that all states have opened up dining rooms in some way. Now there are some restrictions in certain urban places. I know in LA, there's dining rooms are not open, but the main idea is that we're starting to see dining rooms open up. And that's also true north of the border. So we're, of course, Canadian-based company. In Canada, basically everywhere in the province we live in, Ontario is open, with the exception of some dining rooms in Toronto and some dining services in Quebec. That being said, obviously, once you open up dining rooms, there's the question of safety and whether or not consumers will actually be coming. But in some of the research we did, specifically, we found a Technomic survey that interviewed over 5,000 people asking what are their thoughts on the restaurant industry as a whole. And 56% of those consumers actually felt comfortable going to dine in. And that was actually before anything's open. And now that we've started to see some dine-in services resume, 16% of those have actually already been visited. So that's big. And I think another trend to support the general spending towards restaurants is consumer spending in general. So of course, when COVID-19 hit, there was probably a 40% drop in consumer spending. But over the last 2-3 weeks or so, partly aided by the fact that restaurants are opening, we've seen an increase in that consumer spending, which further leads us to believe that there's going to be some dollars that are spent at your stores. In general, for us as a tending to operations and training teams in restaurants, we're always looking to kind of stay ahead of the curve and come up with solutions to your biggest problems. So we thought we'd poll you. What are the biggest problems that you're seeing? What's keeping you up at night as operators? So I'm going to ask this question here. Show some results from the Technomic survey. So actually, Ray, I think I'm going to need you to pull that in. So if you can click poll and launch poll. Perfect. So yeah, everyone just chime in. Yeah, we'll give you about a minute and then we'll share the responses and we'll show some responses that Technomic actually came up with for the same question.
Give everyone another 40 seconds here. So far, we've got 11 responses. 10 more seconds.
Is that music too loud? We have the music on in the restaurant. Is that bothering anybody?
Nope, good over here.
Okay.
Can't hear what tune it is, but
Yeah.
okay, so we're gonna end this poll now. Let's share the results.
Yeah, so this is actually great that we're seeing. It's obviously a limited sample size, but we'll actually show those results in comparison with these results from Technomic survey, and you can see that they are in line. Everyone is focused on safety, whether it's your customers or it's your employees. That's clearly been the biggest problem for operators in general. But not just creating a safe environment, but also ensuring your customers and your employees that the place will be safe. So we've been doing a lot of work there. And of course, in this presentation, tailoring it to you guys, been focusing with that as a major pain point and continue to do so. But of course, it's nice and dandy that we want to keep our stores clean or keep our stores healthy for both customers and employees. But really, what does that mean? And we're going to dive in a little bit more specifically with Bob and Kyra, but sort of as a bit of a high level overview. You can almost split that up into two separate buckets for employees and then just your facilities and your store in general. So for employees, it's very important that before each shift, they're screened in some way, whether that's for temperature or did an ideal world test. But just to know that going into the shift, everything is seemingly fine. Furthermore, also just a face covering and gloves for your employees. You won't want them to think that they're at risk of getting sick, or B, your customers to think that they're at risk of getting sick from the employees. In terms of facilities in general, you can see that we have a pretty long and extensive list here, but for the most part, I would think of things in a few different categories. Social distancing, so just setting up your stores to space people out 2 meters or 6 feet. No more sharing, so whether that's menus, plates, communal cutlery or condiment stations, those kind of all have to go out the window. And hand sanitizer. Everyone wants to stay clean. You got to give them the opportunity to do so. So making sure that hand sanitizer is available everywhere is extremely important. That's enough from me. This is kind of a high level overview. I'm going to hand it back off to Ray and he'll dive into exactly how this stuff is being executed at the store level with both Kyra and Bob.
Thank you, Jason, for that nice piece of information. So now we're going to get to the real reason why everyone's here, and that's to hear from Kyra and Bob. So first, I'm going to introduce Kyra. Kyra is a business development manager with Basil Box. They're a 15 location chain based, actually local for us here in Toronto, Canada. Kyra's got more than 10 years of experience in the restaurant industry, working with leaders like Cineplex, Mandarin, and Popeyes. So she's really got a nice breadth of experience from a few different brands. And then also we've got Bob Hennessee over here. Bob's a Massachusetts district manager for Otto's Portland Pizza. Otto's is a 14 plus location brand based in the US. More than 10 years of experience working in the industry as well. In the past, Bob was a director of operations for Upper Crust. So he really knows pizza and his way around restaurants. So without further ado, I'd like to give you guys the floor. And what we'll do is we'll start off with just a first kind of broad question. Maybe Kyra, if you want to answer this one first, just tell us about how COVID-19 affected your company, and operationally, now that you're opening, what's going to be different than before?
So when COVID-19 hit, we actually had to close all of our locations, sadly, because we just wanted to make sure that all of our crews were safe. We didn't want to risk it. We didn't want them to come to work not knowing how terrible COVID-19 has spread already. So for, I believe about 2 months, we actually closed our locations. And then once things started, we noticed some stores were keeping open, and then we started understanding how to basically focus on how we can still open our locations with COVID-19 occurring, which is basically the new way of running our location. So what we ended up doing is we made sure that when our crews come to work, make sure that they're always wearing a mask wherever they go, inside and outside our locations. Once they arrive, our managers we'll always keep an eye on their temperatures, as well as we will provide them a brand new mask every single time they're in the stores. We encourage them to always, always, always wash their hands and make sure that they're basically like every task that they do at work, they have to always finish, they should wash their hands prior. With our restaurants, we actually started putting more sanitizer dispensers. So guests are able to actually line up and there's a sanitizer waiting for them before they order, as well as a sanitizer waiting for them after they order as well. We did notice that a lot of our guests tend to still feel uncomfortable touching the pin pad. So we provide napkins for them to actually use themselves to use to touch the pin pad. For them, it's more a security, which is we provide it for them so they feel safer. We also did notice that like a lot of our guests are very more intricate in how we run with food and safety. So they're like they watch everything that we do now, which is honestly, if I were a guest, I would do the exact same thing. So we do encourage our crews every time before they serve a guest to wash their hands every single time, because we're always doing stuff. It's a quick service, so sometimes you don't realize that you were doing a different job. So we always recommend that they always wash their hands beforehand.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I mean, it's a lot of a mix of, I think, some stuff that you would hope that all your staff are doing, and a lot of things that are new expectations that is just going to become the kind of the standard.
It's a lot of reminders, right? You just keep it in mind all the time now. It's like mandatory.
Right. And that's the big difference is that mandatory, because the standards have increased, and as you said, your guests expect more. So that's really great. Bob, for you, same question. How has it been affecting you guys? I know you were constantly watching the government regulations and how that was changing and affecting it. So how's it been for you in post-COVID?
So it's been tough. A lot of stuff that Kyra said is similar to us. We didn't have to close. We closed one restaurant just because it wasn't doing any business, and it was right down the street from another restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually in Portland, Maine, not Oregon, but that's okay.
A little marketing over there.
Yeah, but it's been tough. It's just trying to be compliant and be safe. We want to keep everybody safe. Everybody that walks in, we keep the temperature log, we take their temperatures, log it, and we keep it. And after 7 days, we're sending it to HR so they can keep it on record, just in case there was ever any questions or anything like that. Obviously, gloves and masks are required, and that's the new normal. You're going to see that everywhere. So dine-in just opened up yesterday in Massachusetts. No capacity regulations, but everything had to be 6 feet apart. So, for our business, we're pizza. So we're already positioned for takeout and delivery in most of our spots. In Massachusetts, we have one full service restaurant and everything else is quick serve. In Maine, everybody was quick serve. Everybody was full service with full bars and everything. So they were impacted a little bit more than us. But, we got lucky because we positioned ourselves a little bit early once things started coming out and we found out more news about it. We jumped on a lot of third parties. So one thing about this COVID, which I'm not sure how you guys are experiencing there, but we have a good quality pizza. We have a good quality product, but people aren't looking for that. People are looking for safety. When they're going to order, they want to feel safe. That's more important than the quality of the food. That's why you see like Domino's, who's a huge chain, and people feel safe ordering from them because of what they put out there, and their business is booming. They're building restaurants during a pandemic, and they're hiring more people. So that's a model to follow. So as long as you can feel safe, people are going to order from you, and that's that. So business is obviously down, pretty heavy, especially in a couple of locations that are near colleges, which is one of our models. And we're near colleges, a lot of students, and we do a lot of catering. And catering pretty much stopped. So now we have to adapt. We're going to adapt everything one single serve. So we're working on making smaller pizzas for catering for large groups of 10, I guess. So But that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if I missed any question there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think for you guys, it's an interesting topic, the Domino's comparison, because, Domino's is quality, it's to a level, but nobody's going to think that Domino's is the same as ordering from, a higher end quality pizzeria. But because of the brand and everyone knows how, touchless and technology and how much they've integrated all that, there's an expectation there. And that's why people are comfortable buying Domino's. I think I saw their sales have been through the roof during COVID. So, right, like you said, they're obviously doing something right. So, no, it's a good point, and it's very interesting.
I think they probably started the trend with the contactless delivery, but I believe everybody's doing it now. All third parties, if you order, I don't know what you guys do up there, but when I order from a third party, it says it's going to be contactless, and it makes you feel a little bit safer. When the driver drops off your food with gloves and he's wearing a mask, it makes me feel a little bit better than coming out coughing and putting it down on my step. So.
Yeah, no, I think me as a consumer, I would agree with you, and probably some others. To start with Kyra here, what challenges did you encounter when you were reopening your stores? Because I know for you guys, I remember speaking to you when all your stores were closed. What are you now facing as you reopen them? Like, are there things that really are challenging you? Are there strategies that maybe you're putting in place to mitigate some of these? I don't know. A lot of people talk about reliance on third-party apps, and then towards their own app because to lower the fees that you're paying out to third parties. So maybe speak a little bit to that.
So we began opening. A lot of the issues we were getting was having our managers feel comfortable coming to work is one of the difficulties we had, because without a manager we can't really open a location. Also with the crews at the moment, like, we could handle it with one manager. We tested it out first because, like we said, sales, we were doing like huge, like during our lunch rush back then, it was literally like lineups and lineups of guests coming, and we're a fast service build your own box concept, so literally the whole concept was quick and easy. And now it's just it's a much more difficult because you're actually trying to guess in the beginning how much you should be cooking. You can't like overcook and then ruin the quality of your food. Like, quality is a huge thing for Basil Box. Safety definitely is a huge thing for Basil Box, but it's hard when it's like you're used to cooking so much and now you have to downsize down the amount that you're cooking. So what we've been doing is a lot of cook on the spot. So we've been testing out different ways of basically like cooking on the spot. So what we would do is just ask the guests with our proteins, what proteins you'd like. So while we are cooking it, I can start dropping whichever protein they want, and everything else will be ready for them. We still keep an eye, like, quality is always important to us, so we always still want to provide the best for them. Another difficulty that we were facing were, like you said, there's not as much walk-ins as we used to. Nowadays, when the weather is great, like lately, I've been seeing a lot more people walking in, but in the very beginning, we really relied on all our deliveries and Ubers, when Foodora used to be there, we had Foodora, DoorDash, but we also actually were able to kind of grow our Basil Box app, which is our own personal app, which is much better because personally, like, it allows guests to order ahead. So if they do plan on walking in, then they can come and pick it up and everything's ready. So it's like less contact. It's available on a table for them to pick up themselves.
Yeah.
We've also, during the COVID, we actually started a new, we call it the Frozen series, where guests could actually order all our items frozen and they cook it at home. That actually allows us to deliver it to the guest's home and just leave it outside and text them and tell them it's available. It's a whole brand new concept, but we were able to make it happen because of COVID. So there were still even though COVID's a terrible thing that's happening, we had to adapt to it and find other ways of making sales, right?
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, the home kits and frozen, I've seen that.
It's huge now, so yeah.
Exactly. I think it's great that you guys are able to pivot and adapt and do that. because it seems like that's become a pretty standard practice now, where, you know, if you asked somebody 2 years ago, I don't think they would have ever said that some of these restaurants would be selling frozen products. But yeah, Bob, same type of thing for you. Are there challenges that you're encountering now? I mean, it sounds like you guys had to repurpose a lot of dine-in stores to be mainly takeout. So how does that impact the business, and how are you guys mitigating those challenges?
Well, it's different. So as I mentioned, in Maine, some of our stores that had like full dining, full service, didn't decrease in sales with the takeout. So we repositioned the stores and changed the model. We have many different models anyway. But I mean, just adapting and changing, like Kyra said, yeah, you have to be adaptable and be able to change as necessary, as needed. So, I mean, right now we did like a lot of contactless pickup too. So we're doing mobile pickups, and, you know, you see it at Chipotle and, you know, a lot of chains that are doing like, they have a mobile pickup station. But what we actually have is some heated shelves that are like sitting there with the pizzas on there and with the name on there and the ticket on there. So they come in, they look at it, they grab it themselves, and it's easily identifiable. And it makes it easier for the customer and just less interaction. You know, we put up, I forget what their initial question was. I'm just rambling. One more initial question.
No, that's spot on. I mean, that those types of innovations, those are kind of becoming new standards. And, you know, I think contactless pickup is becoming, you know, even more popular. There's a brand, it reminds me, in Toronto, there's a brand, Paramount, which we actually had in one of our past webinars. They launched a whole new concept. I think it's called Boxed. And essentially what it is the whole restaurant's actually just shelves with a code on the window. You press the code, you open it up, you take your meal, you close it. And then on the other end, they're cooking, just putting them in. So there's no interaction at all with humans. So what you're mentioning there, I think resonates very well. And it's right up the alley of, you know, what we're seeing in the industry for sure.
So the location I'm currently at right now, we have an electrician putting in some outlets. The warming shelves came in today. We had a custom built mobile pickup station, waiting for some signs for it, but that'll get installed today, and, you know, we're ready to go. We get all the restaurants have plexiglass and, you know, just locking the register just to make it a little bit safer. Anything we can keep customers and employees safe is what we're trying for. You know, that's the most important thing.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. And that actually leads me to my next question, was going to be, you know, what steps are you taking to protect both customers and employees, and what investments have you made in respect to, you know, new packaging or new plexiglass? Bob, if you want to, you could continue on that one, and then Kyra.
So like I said, we put up the plexiglass at all of our locations at the registers. You know, we supply masks for all employees, gloves. You know, even the pizza makers now, you're not required to wear gloves because you're making a pizza and it's going into a 600-degree oven. But now, just because of safety and just for the appearance of safety as well, you want to make sure everything looks kosher. You know, everybody's good, everybody's clean, everybody's washing their hands when they take off their gloves. Our drivers are wearing gloves to the deliveries, wearing masks. As I mentioned, we have the contactless pickup, contactless delivery. We were requiring prepayment, so it was really no cash. So there's no money exchange in hands, prepayment over the phone. You don't have to sign for it, pre-tipping, and it just makes less connection when you're delivering.
Right. And did you say, is cash been eliminated, or are you still accepting but preferring digital?
But we're trying to push towards credit cards, which is the opposite of everything, you know. And then especially now, I mean, we prefer cash, but you don't want to handle cash. You know, with all these third-party deliveries, you know, that's a high increased expense for restaurants. You know, Uber Eats is 30%. You know, that's leaving no room for the restaurants. But if you don't do it, then you're missing out. And if you do it, you're missing out. So missing out on money.
Definitely. Kyra, same question for you.
It's very similar to Bob as well. So we have put plexiglass in all of our stores, as well as on our floors. We provided them steps where guests can stand on 6 feet away from each other so that we can still emphasize that they must be 6 feet apart. Like I said, we do have our sanitizer bottles. We provide all the masks to all our crews, and gloves are still available whenever they want, whenever it's needed. And then also, when it comes to, what do you call? So yeah, basically it's almost similar to what Bob's stores are doing as well. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, it's great to hear, and I'm sure your employees appreciate it, and customers, definitely appreciate it because, if anybody walks in, they're not seeing those things. Are they going to return? Are you going to be losing some of that customer loyalty that you've spent so much time, effort, and money developing? It's very possible. So the expectations really are changing.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention that Kyra did mention, we have floor decals 6 feet apart. Tables are 6 feet apart. Hand sanitizer station when customers first walk in.
Yeah. And also, we are also doing cashless. Like I have noticed a lot more guests would prefer to do card and like taps when they do walk-ins, and a lot of people are doing delivery and would prefer delivery versus actually coming in. We are starting to open patios here in Canada, so we're gonna see how that happens. Our 2 patio locations are probably gonna start next week, so we'll see how it goes. But lately, yesterday I was at one of our locations in Mississauga, and the lineup was crazy. Like it's weird. Like some people actually, it feels like have they forgotten that COVID still is still around. Like it's weird in some areas. Like what Bob said, some of our university locations, like those ones aren't doing as well. It's hard because school has been canceled, but there are locations where it's more surrounded by small businesses and homes, where it picks up more because families are still at home. A lot of them still want to go out, unfortunately, during this COVID time, but it's weird in different areas.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really will depend on where you're located. I mean, especially based on the city, and they've got their own regulations and laws and rules. And I think, Toronto just opened yesterday, announced patios are going to be open, but it's different if you were in, some other city. And I'm sure, Bob, for you in Massachusetts right now, same type of thing. Do your stores have patios?
Some of them do, and some of the towns have been pretty lenient. At one of our locations, we able to block off part of the sidewalk and use that as a patio. But the patios just opened last week and today, so. But a couple of our locations do have patios, and we're able to take advantage of that.
Another question here. As stores are reopening or you're re-engaging with a lot of them, obviously, both you guys, you've got multiple locations, 15 and 14 locations. So in terms of all these new procedures that you're putting in place, a lot of training must be required of your staff to make sure they're aware of everything. And you're also doing this all in bulk at the same time. So how are you training? How are you planning on getting these stores kind of reopening? And what are you training them using, or how are you doing that?
I'll go. So one thing, your app. So your app helps us out a lot. It's accountability. Everybody wants to be safe anyway. This is a different time where it's not like people are saying, "Oh, we got another checklist to do." Everybody's doing these things anyway. We're just marking it off to show that it's being done. Everybody wants to be safe right now. Nobody wants to get sick. Nobody wants to get anybody else sick. And I think it's just accountability and just being hands-on with the training, just going to each location and speaking with the GM, speaking with the team members, and just enforcing that why we're doing this. If you give them, not just tell them to do it, show them why we're doing it and explain why, and it makes it easier. As long as people understand the why of it, I think the training part is much easier. We're using the apps daily, like we have the daily checklist. It's every hour for the COVID sanitation. We have menus on our tables that tell employees what we're doing. Every hour, we're wiping down every touch point to keep people safe. Now, it seems a little tedious, but when you tell the employee why and how spreadable this disease is, it makes it easier. So.
Right. No, I mean, I'm glad to hear that Daily Checks is helping you. And I think like you mentioned, employees understand why they're being asked to do this. It's not so abstract to them. So they're actually invested almost in doing it because they understand the repercussions if they don't do it.
Right.
And Kyra, what about for your team and getting everybody on the same page and understanding they need to be wearing masks and all those types of things? How's that been? How have you guys been rolling that out?
For the most part, everyone's very understanding. They all kind of have an idea on what the situation is like inside and outside the restaurant. So when we tell them to wear a mask and frequently wash their hands, we try to put them in a perspective as if they were a guest. And with this whole situation occurring, how would they feel as well, right, as a guest? So for them, for the most part, the daily checks has been very useful too. I'm planning on adding up more stuff in terms of cleanliness and the checklist, so that we can frequently be more like wiping down the steam table, wiping down sanitizing our tables, even though they're not being used. People are still around there, sanitizing all the glasses around. So it's been very useful. I've also been using our MeazureUp actually, in addition to the daily checks. As I visit all my locations, I use that MeazureUp as an auditing tool for me to basically make sure everything is keeping up to date and all the safety and cleanliness is still being performed every single time.
It's the gold standard there, ensuring that all those things are being done. And I'm glad to hear that MeazureUp is helping you as well in that regard. And this kind of leads me to my next question here, which is how are you leveraging technology and how is it impacting or helping you in this new sort of world, both with, it sounds like daily checks and MeazureUp on you're doing your checklist, but also, you guys are probably more heavily invested in using apps. Kyra, you mentioned you guys have been focused on your own app. So maybe tell us a little bit about how technology has been helping you, how you've been using MeazureUp, and any kind of helpful tips and tricks that the audience might be interested in.
Well, for us, technology is a huge thing. That's basically how we're reaching out to our guests. Instagrams has been like our way of communicating to our guests how we're performing in each restaurant, as well as what we're doing advertising wise. We use Instagram as well, and introducing like our frozen series, we've been using Instagram. When it comes to our Basil Box app, it's been a huge success because it allows guests to actually pre-order. Right now, we're actually looking into maybe starting to do our own delivery, like internally, rather than relying on second companies like Uber and Skip the Dishes. But for the most part, it's been really helpful. Like most of our sales back then, before anyone was actually walking in, was coming from delivery services, and it's been what we've been using for the most part. With the MeazureUp, like I said earlier, so with more time, like with COVID happening, I have more time to actually visit the stores personally, and it allows me to actually audit and even tweak the MeazureUp, like the stuff that I have listed on it already, and add on new things to look into especially when visiting stores, especially with safety. We have to, like we said, like we spoke about earlier, we have to be more frequent when washing our hands, when cleaning our plexiglasses, when cleaning the handles of our doors, cleaning the glasses of our doors. All of those we need to be more aware. Like you wouldn't think we would sanitize like a button to open a door, but nowadays you can just see guests looking afraid to touch a button. So it's like those things just to keep like the safety, and like what Bob said earlier, for guests to visually see that we're actually making an effort to make our restaurants as clean as possible for them is what we've been trying to do. And like, I'll be honest, the daily checks has been very useful for that as well, because it gives them like a checklist of things to do and to always do every day.
Right. Yeah, no, that's, it's kind of becoming the new norm. And those, you're right. Like people get scared of touching those buttons that before they never would have thought twice about, myself included. Every time I walk up to a restaurant or even down the street, I was going to get ice cream, the door was shut and I saw there was a bunch of people that nobody knew what to do, if they're supposed to pull the door open or if the
Yeah.
staff was going to come and open the door for them. It was like this awkward kind of pause. So
I actually look for accessibility buttons now and use my elbow, not even my hand, to open it. It's just like it's a weird thing I would never have done back then, but now it's just on your mind all the time.
exactly. And Bob, for you guys, same question. You know, how has the technology been helping you?
As Kyra said, you know, we obviously use the MeazureUp app too for the audit app. And, you know, every time one of the district managers or regional manager walks into a store, you know, we have a 7-question COVID checklist that we go over. It takes about a minute to do, maybe 2 minutes if we get stretched a little bit, but we get it done. Every time we walk into a store, if I walk into the same store, like if I walk in one store, go to another store and go back to the store, I'm doing it again just to make sure everything's being done still. So for that part of the technology, I mean, it's been helpful to just help us be on top of it and be top of mind. And not that it wouldn't be at this time, with like what's going on now, but to make sure it's top of mind. Technology as far as like ordering goes, you know, we have our own app. And we try to push our customers to our mobile app. You know, big rewards to use our app, and you know, builds loyalty too when you have rewards. But you know, a lot of it is third party as well.
Yeah.
The less third party, the better. We have our own drivers, but people will order third party. They don't mind paying those extra fees. But
yeah, well, I mean, it's great that you guys have your own drivers lined up and that sort of thing. So it sounds like you're positioned well, you know, for success. And, you know, my hunch is that the reliance on technology is only going to grow. People are it's going to become the standard. And so it sounds like both, you know, Basil Box and Ottos are kind of positioned well for that. I think that's it for kind of the questions from me. What I'd like to do now is just speak briefly. We'll show you a little bit more about the digital checklist tool that, you know, I think Kyra and Bob have been speaking about. And then we'll go into just Q&A, and we'll get some questions for Kyra, Bob, or if anyone wants to ask Jason or myself a question. So, you know, I think the main thing that both Bob and Kyra were chatting was our daily checks tool. We have 2 solutions. We have our audit app by MeazureUp, and that's for more the district managers to conduct their drop-in visits. But in times of COVID, something that we're really been pushing is our daily checks, and you know, both Basil Box and Ottos is benefiting from that. And with our daily checks platform, it's really simple in that all you need is a phone, tablet, Android, iOS. You've got adaptable checklists that can be updated and dispersed in seconds, so everybody has access to it in the stores. We've come out with a new update, so that way, you know, I don't even know if Kyra and Bob, if you guys have seen this yet, but you can actually track employee temperatures now right in the app. Yeah, it's something we did a big sprint on the last couple of weeks, because I think Bob, you and I spoke about it for in length. I think we had a phone call for a while about it. It's becoming the new standard. And so we didn't previously, you know, we weren't doing it, but it seems like that's the way it's going. So we've added in employee temperature check capabilities. Also, it's all tracked based on time. So if it's supposed to be done every hour, everyone's going to know whether or not those checklists have been done every hour. The days of relying on those, you know, notepads sitting in the corner of the restaurant, and then, you know, maybe somebody quickly just, you know, ticks it off. Those days are kind of over for obvious reasons. And so, you know, with our daily checks tool, compliance has become at the forefront, accountability. These are your digital logbooks. And, you know, if a health inspector comes in, you know, I haven't even thought really about how that's impacting the industry, but, you know, when they start to come in with a digital tool like this, you guys have the records available whenever you need them, all at the touch of a button. And the best thing of all is there's no more paper. You don't have to deal with those stacks and binders and any of that junk. So that's just a quick thing there. I am going to do another poll. So we're going to do a little poll here for everybody, just to see who is interested in trying out a digital checklist tool at your stores. So if you guys want to answer that, and then we'll share some results and, you know, see if maybe we can learn something here. And I think Kyra and Bob, you guys are able to answer too. I hope you say yes. So we'll just give that another 30 seconds here. Okay, 20 more seconds. 10 seconds. Okay. So I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. Okay, so it looks like 55% of you said yes, that's good. 36 said yes, I tried it for free. Well, the good news is that we are offering it for a short time, free to anyone who wants to start trying it out right now. So that is a good thing. And then obviously if you don't have any stores at the moment, it's probably not very useful for you. Okay. Now we're going to open it up to the Q&A portion. So if anyone in the audience has any questions for Bob, Kyra, myself, or Jason, feel free to type it in. Now is the chance to ask. Okay, first question here. Since COVID-19 began, what challenges have you helped to solve and what were the most important? So maybe Bob or Kyra, whichever one you wants to jump at that one first.
Yeah, I'll jump at it. Can you ask it one more time?
So what challenges occurred from COVID-19 and in terms of importance, which ones were the first that needed to be solved?
First that needed to be solved was just trying to figure out how to operate safely. You know, and at the beginning, it was tough to get masks. Gloves were going quick. Sanitizer was almost impossible. You had to make your own concoctions with bleach and whatever. But getting supplies, I'm going to say, was one of the first big challenges that we had to overcome. We were able to do it quickly. We have good resources through our suppliers, different than like a supermarket supplier. So we have our regular suppliers that were able to help us out and take care of us along with all of their other customers as well. That was a big challenge and a big obstacle to overcome. And then just trying to figure out how to operate and how to put the message out there of what we're doing. So people know that we're being safe and we're doing the right things.
And Kyra, what about for you? What was kind of the first big challenge that you guys had to tackle during all this?
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I was on the phone with the crew. I may have missed that. I'm so sorry.
No worries. In terms of just challenges that kind of came up right at the start, what was one of the first things that you had to tackle that was right on the top of the pecking order?
Definitely how we're going to make sure that all our crews and all our guests are going to be safe going into the restaurant would be basically the number one, because at this point, when it comes to COVID, safety is the number one issue. Yes, quality is still important, but when you're afraid of a virus that's all over, like where we can't even see, I think safety was the major issue that we needed to focus on and tackle on.
Yeah, that's a great point. Definitely. And I'm sure that's applicable for just about everyone. Another question here is, do you expect, and this is from Louis, do you expect a city or state to require standardized certified cleaning requirements for restaurants going forward? Maybe Bob, if you want to take that one first.
I think it's a tough question. I don't know. It's a good question. So I don't know if they're going to make you do certain things as long as, am I on mute?
No, we can.
You're good.
I just saw it. So I think it's just, it's going to be tough to certify that. I think they're just going to have to, maybe they're going to be extra diligent with the health inspections instead of maybe twice a year as they do in Massachusetts. Maybe they'll bump it up and they'll be looking at cleanliness more than just temperature safeties and like cross-contamination and things like that. I think it'll be tough to have some kind of certification, but maybe they'll require a company. You know, there's a lot of companies that'll come in and clean for you, Ecolab, and I don't know any other companies off the top of my head, but there's companies that'll do it for you. But it's a tough question to answer. But I think as long as you show that you're being diligent and you have, especially a digital checklist where you can show it off and say, I can go back and show you each day our checklist, what we did, how we did it. And I think that would be sufficient.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. As long as you have a digital tool tracking it all, then at least you don't have to worry if and when those things change.
Exactly.
And Kyra,
For me, to be honest, if they provide one for us, we obviously will start following those. But like right now, we're basically like from these webinars, we're basically collecting all the different ways of us keeping track and keeping our restaurant clean and following. And like Bob said, we do have our daily checks to use so that we can always follow those. If they do provide it, I'd be fine following it, but at the same time, we'll probably add more ways for us to basically keep our restaurant top shape, basically.
awesome. Any other questions from the audience today? Any other questions? Give it 30 seconds. Okay, well, I think that's all we have for today. Bob,
I'm
Kyra.
gonna jump in here quick.
Oh, yeah.
Couple more questions just in general. Actually may have got another one, but just more for the marketing side of things. Of course, I'm on the marketing team. My goal is to keep on serving you up the best content possible. So put a couple questions here towards the end just about the content that you guys want to see going forward. So Ray, didn't mean to cut you off there, but if you could just pull these couple in and before everyone heads out, just to be able to fill out this.
Yeah, definitely. So just launched a quick poll there. While everyone's getting a chance to answer these, just want to thank Bob and Kyra, both you guys for jumping on here. Obviously, things are very fluid right now. The regulations, the requirements, the needs, the expectations, they're all changing on a daily basis across the industry. But I think, you know, there's a few kind of staples, whether you're in Canada, US, South Africa, or anywhere else. You know, customers expect quality and they expect cleanliness, and health and safety is going to be at the forefront of it, and being able to track and understand, you know, what's happening at your restaurants and where and when is going to become crucial to success. And, you know, I'm glad that we could kind of share your thoughts and have you guys on here to give us what you thought. We've got one last quick question here. In terms of delivery vehicles, I think this is more for Bob. If you guys have your own drivers, are you cleaning delivery vehicles?
Yeah, so everybody, that's a really good question, actually. So everybody has their own vehicle. We don't provide the vehicles, but you know, they go in there. We give them hand sanitizer for the car. We give them cleaning supplies so they can take care of that themselves too. You know, wiping down their steering wheels, the door handles, and things like that. So it's a really good question.
Perfect. Okay. Well, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. Bob, Kyra, if there's anything else, otherwise, I think that will wrap it up for today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Take care, guys.
Bye.